I don't know what I just did. I set a schedule. I tried to set the live stream to go on for like ahead of time. I scheduled it to go on, and then when it went on, it just went around and around. I don't know if you saw or not. Uh, it wouldn't go live, and it took me forever to get back into the stream of things. And yeah, I don't know what happened there. Matter of fact, let me go back and look and see if live is still on. I couldn't delete it. Yeah, no, it's gone. Or there was a live stream that I couldn't delete. Well, here I am now anyway. And I didn't say but anyway. I'm getting ready to finish my breakfast here. I got my smoothie. I'm going to be making a run today to go pick up my sign. I'm thinking about taking my, I would hate to take that Korg out there and get downtown, get down to the Smithsonian, and I need to experiment. I got an extra day. So today would be the experimental day. I need to go get my sign from Staples and cut it up and come back. I need to leave as early as I can. The store will be open about 9. I need to finish my breakfast. And but I did want to say practicing exercises and scales and be able to transfer it into your music is another thing, because I had practiced scales for years and wasn't able to transform them into my transferable skills. But then again, I digress. I think that I've been getting so many compliments from people over the years. They kept telling me I didn't know how good I was. So all the practicing might have took effect into my music, being transferred into my music without me even realizing it. Because sometimes I run into an old CD that I recorded, and sometimes I don't recognize myself. But I know I have a definite style of playing. So after a while, I say, oh, that's me. And sometimes I remember one CD that I gave to a guy at WPFW, and it was terrible. It was nothing wrong with it. It was just that I was playing like I was afraid to make a mistake. And but nobody noticed that it was a good piano. It was clean piano. So I say that to say yesterday, practicing my Christmas songs, things are starting to ferment. I'm starting to see the scales soloing off of a chord within the key. Soloing off the chord changes within the key. And I'm finding out that I'm seeing it took me forever to find out what a flat 5 was or a sharp 5. I kept putting it off. I didn't want to study it. So now I actually saw the other day where it said added 4. Instead of writing the 11th chord, it said add 4. It's a Beatles song. I'm thinking about some of that Beatles stuff. I'm not going to get into everybody should know those. To be honest, most of those young white rock and roll people or boogie woogie, the early rock and roll days, they idolized old black blues guys like Muddy Waters and so many others. I don't want to start naming. But the Rolling Stones, when Muddy Waters thought he was washed up, the Rolling Stones sent for him. And he had no idea that he was being worshipped. People were trying to play his music all over the world. All races, actually, all races. But the people that he benefited from was young white rock and roll. Took the music and ran with it. I say all that to say that the Beatles, most of their music was from the old rock and roll, old blues guys, and it's a long story of how rock and roll got its name. In the early beginnings of it, it was before it was even called race records. Before it was even called jungle music, it was actually called nigger music. And I don't know, did you say that? Yeah, you said that. But the story, if you follow the story, that one of the DJs, they used to call them race records because that was the clean way of saying it. And later on, the guy coined the phrase. I don't remember his name. He coined the he coined the phrase, rock and roll. Rock and roll. By then, everybody was playing it. But let me get that. I'd say the Beatles stuff. But then again, those kids were geniuses. They were musical geniuses. They knew their music. They knew their theory. Because some of those chord changes were not average rock and roll 1-4-5 chords. They knew their theory to mix up some of that stuff to come out like some of those chord changes had never been done in that type of music. I'm going to make this real. This is going to be the shortest one I've done today. But I definitely want to bring out the point of practicing scales and exercises daily becomes a habit. It's going to, your scales and studying your theory. Most of the old jazz musicians, they say their way of learning was back in the day, they would buy them great big old albums. The albums were big and heavy back then, and you had to lug around a record player. It was like heavy, big joint, man. And had the big giant speaker built in, and you had to get your stack of 45s. It wasn't even 45s back then. 33s and the thirds. You had to learn it off of the record. You had to learn the runs off the record, or go to see the person and try to remember what they were doing and run home and try to copy it or learn their runs and licks note for note. Later on, the 45s and 33s came out. Albums, LPs, long playing, because the little short ones were, well, all this history you can go look up. The point of it was that they learned from the records, or that they learned from the records. But most of the musicians, they were knowledgeable. They studied. Once you realized you wanted to be a musician, you went to college, you went to school, you pursued it. Yeah, I don't know where people got the idea that jazz musicians didn't know anything about music, that they were just playing anything. I don't know where that came from, because those guys were most knowledgeable. Every once in a while, you might run into two famous ones who didn't read music, who didn't sight read music. Because I'm quite sure you can't hang around all those musicians, guys, sheet music all over the place, with you not knowing where a C or an E or a B, not knowing your lines and spaces after a while. And I know they had their own shorthand way of writing down things, but I think Earl Garner was one of the guys that I think that didn't sight read music. It's a whole different animal. But I'm pretty sure hanging with those musicians, hearing music talked about, they had a college course. Anytime you joined a jazz band, you was on a college level. Hanging around those musicians, they had to teach you something. I don't care if people say that he couldn't read music. After 8 years of playing with a jazz band, you still can't put him in that category of not being able to read music. But then again, I have met musicians who played with a band who couldn't read music their whole life. I was just with a bass player last time I was with a band, and he said, "I don't know anything. I don't read no notes." And you can't tell me all those years. He was a little bit younger than me. You can't tell me he would play for 30 years and not know where a B or a C was. That's a whole different animal there. And nowadays, with the technology, since the computers or the YouTube's been out, if there's any other musician out there that still say he can't read music, and he goes on YouTube, if it's a musician that's been watching YouTube for 10 years I know it's been more than 20 years. And you still tell me you can't read music? Or you don't know what a note is, or a C or a B or a chord or a scale? Oh, no. Don't come around here. Don't come around here. Don't come around here. Chill. I'm gone. Let me go on schedule here. I'm going to see if I can make my rounds, see if I can get out here and get back in here in enough time to start my schedule. I really don't start looking at the clock until around 12 o'clock. That's when I should have ate something. I have to stop drinking water around 12. And but then again, I'm driving down there, so I don't have to worry about that. I can run to my car and do my TMI routine. Let me go ahead and get on schedule here. And I might be back with you. I might go live today on Facebook down in Smithsonian. So if you have a thingy in YouTube, leave I appreciate people leaving comments on Facebook, but hit the double click on the thing so it can open up in YouTube, and then leave a comment in YouTube. Leave a, if you can. If you can't leave a comment in YouTube, leave it on Facebook. Pretty soon I'm going to be trying to figure out how to work my my Twitter and my Instagram. I do have Snapchat, but I need to sit down and learn how to do all of that. But being on a tight schedule, I have to stick to what I'm doing right now. It's music. I even got away from my Phantom again. I haven't been programming anything on here. So first things first, my main goal is to be prepared after Halloween to get out there and start making money. So I need to get in the habit of going outside. So I tell you, since I've been doing this every year, Halloween coming up to Thanksgiving, people get in a giving mood. So between Halloween and New Year's, I need to be outside playing as much as possible. That way I can have enough money to, when it gets cold, I can woodshed January, February, March, and April. It just so happened the world shut down around the time when I started woodshed. Last year I did work at Christmas. I worked Christmas and I did work as it was getting cold. January, February, you know, it took them forever to shut down the United States. That's why the virus got so spread. If they had shut down everything as soon as they heard about it, blame somebody for that, different people who were in charge. I'm out. Peace and hair grease.